My favorite sign. It's a little damp out here. Welcome back, I'm Tedward. Welcome to Atlanta and welcome to the Nissan Z. But the Nissan Z is not why we're here, because Bridgestone has taken us out to Atlanta Motorsports Park to play with some cars on track in addition to the Z on the street. We are driving the new Bridgestone Potenza Sport. This tire is directly aimed at the Michelin PS4S and 5. So let's go see how it drives. I'm pretty psyched right now. What are we on right here? Up front, we've got a 255 section tire on a 19-inch wheel, and in the rear, a 275 section tire. Let's go see how it feels out there. This should be more sticky than the stock 007 tire that comes on the car. And I think this is kind of a perfect little sports car to test this out on some real roads and not just some incredibly curated event. And one of the big things that Bridgestone is working on right now is making these tires great, but also last longer. So hopefully this maybe doesn't have to be swapped out quite as frequently as a PS4, as we all know what happens when you put your max performance summer tires on your M3, your S2000, you know, whatever sports car you're driving. You always feel like, oh good, I got a new set of tires. And then, you know, a couple years go by, you get the car inspected and they're like, dude, you're not passing inspection. Look at the wear bars. And you don't notice it because on the rears, it's always that camber that kills you. And then suddenly right here, you're right at the wear bars. So it'd be nice if we have something like this. Hi, Sophion. If we have something like this, it'll actually last a good long time. What I'm really excited about is to have alternatives that have either improved grip or wet and dry handling, but also longevity. I mean, we know how frustrating it is to get a set of like good sticky, like max performance summer rubber, and then knowing that you're gonna have to replace them in like 15,000 miles. These Nissans rip. Seriously. Holy cow. I'm always shocked at how fast this car is. Like, it is kind of mind-blowing that these twin-turbo Zs are as quick as they are. I mean, they cost a lot of money. They're still $55,000-ish. But anyway, back to the tires. Already, I'm like pretty into this. They feel like they have pretty good grip right out of the gate. So like, what I'm saying is that sometimes you get like, you go crazy. You get a 200 treadwear tire that you're like, I'm gonna drive this RE71 on the street all the time. Well, the problem with that is when you get out on the street in a tire like that, they need to warm up. So they might feel like glass before you actually get down to business and have some grip, which is dangerous for someone who's just gonna pull straight out of their driveway onto a fun back road. Whereas with this, you know, you're able to pretty much pull into traffic and have grip. Oh man, these roads are fantastic. Gonna be good. These are fast roads. Like, we need to be thoughtful about this. My favorite sign. It's a little damp out here. These are hanging on really nicely. Don't jinx myself. No squeal, no complaints from these tires. I mean, I'm not pushing them hard enough to really hit that anyway, but they feel confidence inspiring in a way that I don't know that I was necessarily expecting. Oh, they feel like I've got like a little bit of gooiness there where it's like, it's telling me there's grip. Like, that's the beauty of a good tire, is when it tells you there's grip before you have to use it. It's a weird thing. They just, yeah. I wish I could drive this back to back with a PS4S for road noise. So far, I think they're pretty quiet. I definitely hear them. They exist. It's fine. But they might be quieter than the Michelin. That's nice, especially in a car like this. Like, this has some insulation to it. My Civic Type R has very little insulation, and that means that a loud tire is intrusive, and it makes the experience a lot less pleasant when you're driving, especially on long distances, especially on like miserable sort of like concrete highways. That's not fun. With a quieter tire that can still get the job done with good wet and dry grip and be quiet, like, that's gold. That's good stuff. So talking about the car, first of all, I'm really digging this blue interior. It's very fun. I think the Nissan Z is still one of like the purest forms of sports car on the market right now, which is really exciting because a lot of sports cars aren't actually sports cars. They're kind of like hybrid luxury poser boy cars. They're too big, they're too heavy. This, although it's still behind in the world in terms of like technology, because it's kind of like a 350Z was updated to become a 370Z, which was updated to become this. And this engine isn't anything new. It's new to the Z, but the twin turbo 6 has been around for a while. Carries with it a lot of that heritage because it is kind of way deep underneath an older platform. But that's actually its strength. And I'm not just trying to play some like Nissan marketing trick here. It's just that, like, I think, like, for example, BMWs, I love D92s, E39s. You get newer F80 and now the Gs, they just don't really do it for me anymore because they feel a little too easy to drive. They're a little numb. Whereas like this car, it still feels a lot like a 350Z. In fact, this is like nostalgia driving a 350Z. This is what I like remember a 350Z driving like. And then if I drove a 350Z, I'd be like, oh man, that was a long time ago. But this is how my brain interprets the 350Z driving. So it's really fun as a former Z owner to be able to come to this car and experience it like this and feel like, wow, this is how I remember my Nissan. This is just a little more refined and nice. We've played a little bit with lateral grip, but I want to just get it off the line and see how it does with just off the line traction. That's pretty darn good. And Z's always spin up a little bit. I'm sure traction control is like acting up a little bit, but this tire was still able to get us off the line with, you know, a reasonable launch. That was good. Just a tiny bit of wheel hop. That's the fault of the car mostly, but that's okay. But yeah, this is great. See how it does over the bridge.
Turn left after 3/4 of a mile.
Definitely a little bit of noise just over some of this like unpleasant stuff, but nothing outrageous. We got to be a little cautious. There's some homes here. We can't tackle all of these corners as if we're at Atlanta Motorsports Park. That's not cool, guys. Not a good thing to do. But what we can do is understand what's going on here. So yeah, there's a little bit of road noise here, but it's not so much that I feel like it's intrusive or obnoxious. If anything, it's kind of giving me information about the road. I know I'm trying to cherry coat it a little bit, or sugarcoat it. Here's our turnaround point. I see a big Potenza flag.
Turn next left, then make the next right turn.
Do not want to get in a fight with a Kenworth or a Peterbilt. A big test that I'm not going to be able to perform here today is wet conditions, because I really would love to know how these handle in wet conditions. And tire testing is so subjective. You need to have comparisons. It's really difficult for me to give you an idea of what's going on in isolation with this one tire. What I can tell you is that it's a good handling tire. It doesn't feel particularly stiff. It doesn't feel particularly loud. I have plenty of grip and laterally. I have plenty of lateral grip, and I have plenty of straight line traction. Those are good things. But when you really got to go and test them back to back in the same day, same conditions, because everything matters when it comes to tires. It's the tarmac, it's the precipitation, it's how greasy things are, it's the day. And I think what's great though is the fact that these tires are close enough that they feel like I need to do that. Like if you drive something that's complete garbage, you're on some like ancient all season, that costs like $40 a tire, like, yeah, I don't need to compare it against a PS4S to tell you that it's not gonna hold up. But what's interesting with this tire is I really do need to compare it directly against the PS4S. I feel like safe in this tire. I feel like it's a cozy level of grip. It's giving me what I want, and it is very appropriate for a sports car. I think the moral of the story is, if you haven't looked into other brands of tires, start looking. Tire tech is good right now. There's very few like bad tires out there, but there's a lot of tires that are better than you'd think, and tires that you forget about because you're so used to just replacing with the OEM, whether it's the S007 from the Bridgestone before this tire, or a PS4S from Michelin. Like, there are other tires out there that you can use that are outside of the factory spec, or not necessarily factory spec, but the factory tire that came on it. And if you're feeling like you want to mix it up a little bit, find out if you can find a quieter tire, a grippier tire, a longer lasting tire. This may be where you need to go. So don't be shy checking out other brands on Tire Rack or wherever you're buying your tires. Thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Thank you to Bridgestone for flying me out to Atlanta to come drive some tires. It's kind of refreshing to do a tire review and not just a car review. I like tires. Tires are our friends. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one. The suspension of the Z is a little soft. It's a little bouncy on the rebound. And, it's interesting when you start to put a stickier tire on that, it exacerbates it a little bit. So just also be aware that when you put a stickier tire on a car that was suspension tuned for a less sticky tire, it is going to change its behavior, especially mid-corner over bumps.